What's the worst betrayal you've experienced from someone you trusted? My older brother Jason always acted like he was looking out for me. Growing up, he'd walk me to school, help with my homework, even beat up my bully when he stole my lunch money in 5th grade. He was my hero, the person I wanted to be when I grew up. Everyone said I was lucky to have a brother like him. I believed them. When I turned 19, I got into a bad car accident. Broke my leg in 2 places, couldn't work for months. My savings disappeared fast paying medical bills. Jason would visit me every week at my apartment, bringing groceries, asking how I was doing with money. I'd tell him I was struggling but managing. He'd shake his head sympathetically and say, "Wish I could help more, but you know how tight things are for me too." I believed him. He was always complaining about his rent, his car payments, how expensive everything was. Sometimes he'd even borrow $20 from me for gas, promising to pay me back next week. What I didn't know was that our Aunt Linda, the one who moved to Arizona 10 years ago, had been sending Jason money every single month, $2,000. Specifically for both of us to split, Aunt Linda was loaded from her late husband's life insurance. She didn't have kids, so she considered us her boys. She'd been sending Jason that money for 2 years to help us out, especially after she heard about my accident. She thought we were both getting through it together. Jason never told me, not once. He kept every single dollar while watching me eat ramen for dinner and stress about paying rent. While I was hobbling around on crutches trying to make it to my part-time cashier job, barely affording my pain medication, he was upgrading his car and taking weekend trips to Vegas with his friends. He even borrowed money from me during this time. Money that was supposed to be mine in the first place. The guy who beat up my bully was stealing from me while I could barely walk. I found out completely by accident 3 months ago. Aunt Linda called me out of nowhere, asking how I was spending the money she'd been sending and if it was helping me recover. I had no idea what she was talking about. I told her I hadn't received any money. The confusion in my voice made her go completely quiet. Then she said, "Hold on," and I heard her dial another number. She called Jason on 3-way. The second he answered, she didn't even say hello. "Jason, have you been giving your brother his half of the money I've been sending you every month?" The longest silence I've ever heard. My heart was pounding. Then he started stumbling over his words, saying he was planning to tell me, that he was saving it for me, that the situation was complicated. Every excuse sounded more pathetic than the last. Aunt Linda didn't yell. She didn't even raise her voice. She just said, "I'm going to need bank statements showing every transfer you made to your brother. You have 48 hours. Then she hung up on him, called me back alone and asked for my address. I just sat there in shock. The person I looked up to my entire life had been stealing from me while I suffered. While I cried myself to sleep, worried about getting evicted. Turned out Jason had spent almost $20,000 of my money over those 2 years. Aunt Linda flew in the next week with her lawyer. They filed a lawsuit against Jason for fraud and theft. He tried calling me constantly after that, leaving desperate voicemails about how family doesn't do this to family, how I was destroying his life over money. I never called him back. Last month, the judge ruled in my favor. Jason has to pay back every penny plus interest. Since he couldn't afford it all at once, his wages are being garnished for the next 2 years. He had to sell his upgraded car, had to move back in with our mom, had to explain to everyone what he did. I saw him at Mom's house last week when I stopped by to drop off groceries for her. He couldn't even look at me, just stood there staring at his feet while Mom tried making awkward small talk. As I was leaving, he finally spoke up. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I stopped at the door and turned around, looked him right in the eyes. "You watched me struggle every single day. You watched me skip meals to afford my medication. You knew I was drowning and you did nothing except take more. Sorry doesn't fix that. Aunt Linda wired me the full amount last week. I'm finally caught up on all my bills, even started saving for the first time in years. I'm getting my life back together. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about him. About how he used to let me win at video games when I was little. How he taught me to ride a bike. How he made me feel safe. And I hate that despite everything he did, despite the lies and the theft and watching me suffer, part of me still misses my brother. I just wish things could have been different. I wish the person he pretended to be was real."